back to Women Making Moves, where we celebrate the moves that women are making. My name is Amy Pons. I'm a Master Certified Life Coach and an Energy Healer. I'm joined today with Khushi Yadav. As a dynamic IT leader with over 2 decades of hands-on experience, Khushi specializes in bringing cutting-edge technology solutions to life and steering high-performing software teams. Her career is marked by successful projects in the bustling world of healthcare and fintech technology, where speed and efficiency are key. She's well-versed in Agile, a popular approach that helps teams deliver quality software quickly and efficiently. Her expertise also extends to managing the entire life cycle of software development, from initial planning and building to ongoing updates and maintenance. What truly sets Khushi apart is her ability to bridge the gap between technology and business needs. She's spearheaded initiatives that significantly improve how they gather, process, and analyze data, leading to tangible benefits for the business. Her role often involves working closely with different team leaders to ensure the tech strategies are aligned with the company's goals, fostering innovation at every step. In essence, she's passionate about crafting top-notch practices in software and data management that not only accelerate project timelines, but also uphold the highest quality standards, ensuring every solution they implement makes a real difference. Khushi, welcome.
Thank you. Thank you. Happy to be here, and thank you for the opportunity.
I say this a lot to my guests. I purposely don't read bios before because I like to have my own unique organic reaction to what I just read. And what's fascinating about it is my last role in corporate, I was the head of digital product management for digital payments, digital wallets. And so everything that you're reading is like, wow, okay, I know exactly what you're talking about. And I was influential in taking a lot of the company from Kanban to Agile.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah,
I didn't know that. So
we even went to extreme programming, which we had, I'm sure you know what that means. And we'll get into all of that shop talk maybe later, but I just feel a synchronicity with you right away because a lot of people know I was in corporate marketing for 20 years. A big part of that marketing role was, while it lived in marketing, I was actually soup to nuts product management. So owning the roadmap, writing features, working, It was everything. So it was such a blended role. And yes, at the end of the day, I was in charge of getting the campaign out to promote the product as well. So it was everything. So
that's a lot of responsibility for one job.
And very much so, many of us were like, hey, red flag. We need to separate these out quite a bit. So at the end, I had the product management team and then also the product owner team.
Yeah. Someday I'm going to sit and hear that story, how you managed. Okay. Yeah.
Oh, I mean, there's a reason why I left corporate in 2022. And I can't wait to tell you the story. But this hour is, of course, not about me. It's about you. I left corporate because I realized that while I was really good at doing stuff, the calling in me is to guide people, primarily women, to their unique soul purpose, soul essence. And a lot of times in today's culture in the US, that doesn't align with how we're being asked to show up. So it hurts. And so I help you walk that bridge to show you, okay, how do we do both?
Oh, head versus heart.
Yeah. So funny you say that. Oftentimes I've said, we go from head to heart. We go to the places that your ego is going to ignore when you're by yourself to keep you, quote unquote, safe. So.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
Khushi, I'm so happy to have you here. So we are newer friends and connections on LinkedIn. Today's actually the first day we're meeting in virtual person, I guess.
Right.
What moves are you excited to be making right now? Tell us more about you.
This happened very recently. So, 2 decades as an engineer, life is good. So I always had the reputation of getting shit done. It's like, Khushi, what are you going to do without you? Blah, 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 blah. So, it really inflated my ego. I really thought I knew what I was doing, yada, yada, yada. But when I got seat at the table, after it was due long time ago, but when I got seat at the table, I realized how hard it is to be heard and how hard it was to be me. And it's like anything that is coming out of my mouth, I have to be prepared to defend it. And whereas if anyone else is saying it was, I thought I saw and noticed it. I think it was the first time in my life where I realized, oh, I'm the only one. and there is no one on the table who looks like me. And then I started researching. And to my surprise, I realized, according to 2023 data, if there are 100 engineers, 100 kids, like the total population of the earth, only 22% engineers are women when they graduate. And out of those 22, 9%, they either don't opt an engineering career or they leave within 1 to 3 years. And I started getting deeper. Why we don't have more women engineers? Are they not getting promoted? But the bottom line was, we need more women engineers a decade ago so that we can have more women in leadership today, right? And it just fueled something inside me. And I was like, okay, that's going to be my audience. And some of my LinkedIn posts is very geared towards this message. And my definition of success is very simple in this regard, that if there is one woman engineer who gets the message, who gets the coaching, who gets inspired by the post that I'm putting there, and she decides to not leave in that dark moment, where you are doubting yourself because of the system you belong to, that will be totally worth it. And that's where I was. And I find most of the advices out there is about, balance your soft skill with your hard skill. Say more, please. Speak like a woman. And I'm like, those things don't work. There is more to it. And it has really sparked something inside me. And I'm just building that up, one piece at a time.
I'm reveling in all the synchronicities and things that you're saying, and so grateful that you're out here doing that. I want to ask you a question around cultural bias, specifically about women as engineers. So what I saw firsthand was, and please correct me if I'm wrong, what I saw was women engineers would defer or be more passive or submissive to the men engineers in the room. And one time, a woman I felt very close to and comfortable with, I said, hey, afterward, I'm like, you know better, way better than what he said. What's up? And she shared with me that it was a cultural, even though it was like we were in a US workplace, the cultural bias still stood that she defers to him. Is it true that I was seeing it that way?
This engineer you talked to, I mean, at that moment when you pointed that out, she might have felt so seen. And I have also had that moment in life because people don't notice such things,
Oh,
So
wow.
A, of course, it is true. And two, there are very few who notice such things. For example, right? I mean, it's not unheard of, but if I present an idea as a women engineer in a very beginning of my career, right, where I'm a little unsure of what I'm saying, I will have 10 people coming at me to defend my idea. But if it's a fellow men junior engineer, they will be taken on their word and be like, oh, yeah, go ahead with it. And we will see how that goes. In the beginning, that is the reason, that cultural bias is the reason that women tends to leave the industry. Most messaging in the industry out there is that, they get married, they have kids, and, they have other priorities. But, in any other job, men and women get married and they have kids and the priorities change. It's true. In tech, all this bias, all this doubts for a young woman engineer with no one to tell them that, hey, this was the great idea coming from a junior engineer. They keep losing confidence and they keep thinking they are not made for it. And that's why they leave. And that's what the messaging I'm trying to create, that go find allies. Not in the corporation itself. Go outside of your professional life. Go join those women groups who can tell you that was an accurate statement. I'm sorry you were made to feel that way. And then you grow from there. But yes, that is unfortunately very true. I think in my world, I think it took a lot of grit in my beginning years as a woman engineer to stick to it. If I would count number of times I decided that, oh, my engineering is not for me, tech is not for me, I should be doing something else, I think I would be very rich at this moment if I had a quarter for, that kind of thought. And it shouldn't be.
Mm-mm, not at all.
In my experience, it all starts from the top. If the top is a misogynist, they hire misogynist, and it just trickles down.
You're absolutely right.
If the top is someone very inclusive and they just passionate about the work they are doing and they just want to hire talent, you will see the diversity grow. And I have been across globe because of my work. I was consultant for a long time. So, I would hop from one country, one city here. And the one thing that I learned that the chauvinism, the misogyny, it's everywhere in one or the other way. It just depended upon who was at the top. I once worked for this employer where my CTO was actually a marathoner. Like he would run for every marathon. The second level of leadership were all marathoners. They would all run marathon. And it was amazing that every promotions and every opportunity, as in this particular feature is very complicated. This is very important for this organization. So who gets that feature? A woman engineer or a male engineer? So what happens when you work on an important feature, which is very important for an organization, you get more exposure, you get more opportunities after, right? If a woman engineer is not given those opportunities, how will anyone know, right? So there is also that gap, the opportunity gap, and everything that will go to people who are runners. And it was me sitting from the outside and doing that observation. I was like, well, what is happening?
What?
It took me a minute to understand that this is not my fault to get out.
You just beautifully showed how, from a very tangible way, like hires like, if you have a hiring bias, leaders like you and me, we would look at the need. Like, what is the need that we have? What are we missing? Rather than
Talent
like,
we need.
let me fill everybody up like me. I don't want to talk to people like me all day, every day. No,
That's
I don't want to do
boring.
that. So do you use terms such as feature grooming or
Feature grooming, yes.
feature grooming, where basically, if those who don't know,
Fine.
actually, you explain, tell me, you're the expert. Tell me what feature grooming is.
You're saying feature, right? In terms
Feature.
of agile, yes. The feature grooming is, say you want to implement a login page for an application where all the engineers get in the room, not just engineers, your product, your UI, UX designer, all the parties that are involved in doing that work, everyone in the room, and they talk about that feature and make sure that everyone is on the same page before, they write first line of code to implement it further.
So in a feature grooming, Khushi, what would you say to the women engineers who face that barrage of questioning, doubt, fighting, like tension, sometimes sheer anger? How should they handle that?
Your idea is valid. Every time you stand up and say something, you are making room for other future engineers. And there is women somewhere out there who is listening and getting inspired by you.
When I was in corporate, I felt like I was bearing the weight of all women on my shoulders, which is not really my cross to bear, but I took it, whether they asked me to or not, which I wouldn't do that today. I'd be like, hey, are you comfortable with me interjecting on your behalf? Before I would just do it. So I would go in with that lens. I felt like I was the ref sometimes as the head of product management in those feature groomings. And I didn't want to be biased against the men either, but it's like, you're valid, but I also want to hear what she says.
Right. So I did that for a long time until I also realized that you really cannot help someone until they are really ready to receive help.
Yeah.
And the only thing I learned through a hard way is that I can model my behavior, which is not backing down when I'm presenting an idea, which is not stop shining just because, someone's eyes are getting dazzled. So in one of my last consultancy job, I was vocal. I I call it an alligator skin. I'm like, you can say anything, it's not getting on me. And I have been called a bitch and like in a room,
Same.
Of
Bitches
course,
unite.
right? Of
Bitches unite.
course. And I have been called bitch like in person meeting, and I heard it and I let it slide and I kept talking. There were two very new engineers in that room. And given, I burned myself trying to help other women engineers very beginning in their career because not their fault, it's their upbringing, and they were not ready to receive yet. I think in like now they reach out to me for, mentoring and advice. But at that moment in time, they were not ready. They came from very religious family and, they had their way of living. What hit me hard was when I left that job and, I was in another job, those two women reached out to me and said, we kept watching you for 3 years. And that is the only reason that I am so comfortable speaking my mind, at my job. And I didn't had a great relationship or anything, but just hearing that gave me some kind of validation. And I moved away from trying to stand up and protect the women engineers in a room because I think women engineers, they are battling lots of things, right? You don't know what kind of relationships they are in, their kids, have they slept last night? We carry so much emotional, mental load for our family. And sometimes they're just not ready to receive. Like you have to be able to receive when someone is giving. And I put it on myself that I am gonna be me because I have mastered my craft. I know my job, and I'm just not going to stop talking because someone is uncomfortable when I open my mouth. I kept doing that in a hope that someone is watching. And in certain meetings, it's not just women engineers, it's the women from other departments like product, marketing, client services. They would just ping me and say, oh my gosh, I really, really wanted to say that for a million years, but I'm so glad you did that. Thank you for speaking up.
Khushi, why is it so important to have a person that can speak both to the technological or systems data side, but also understands the business side?
That is such an excellent question. I hope every organization has someone, who can ask that. You need that bridge because you have this idea in your mind, and now you have to translate. Engineers' vocabulary is very different than
Yes.
business vocabulary. You need someone to change that, to translate the business vocabulary to the engineer vocabulary, just saying that, oh, this button doesn't look right.
Otherwise, like you're saying, so I'll give you an example of me. I've primarily been on the business side, but I have understood enough because I have been in the PO role that I could speak both. But what ends up happening is you could say, the business could keep saying, I want a star shaped on the site. And the engineers know full well that it only allows circles. And then
Right.
what ends up happening is like, I want a star. We only offer circles. Well, I
And
want
we're
a star,
efficiency.
but
Yep.
we can only do circles, but I want a star. It just goes back and forth like that because neither one actually understands what the other wants or is trying to get to because there's no one to say, hey, listen, business, let us take this back and see what it would take to create the star. It's not available right now. So, do you know what I'm saying? Like
Yes.
that's so critical.
Yeah. And there is a lot that goes into it, right? So the one is P1, P2, P3. Decide the priorities, right? Is star P1, like business and sales, they
Yes.
understand money and revenue.
Yes.
Should we stop whatever we are doing and
Right.
make star P1? Because if that's P1, we will come back and tell you what it takes, probably a month. So now we have a month and now
Right.
it's your P1. Are you willing to change the priority? Right?
Exactly. How
The
important is
bridge
that
will
star?
understand that. The
Yeah.
bridge will understand that. The bridge will
Yeah.
understand that the vocabulary of a sales and business is money and revenue. And the vocabulary of an engineer is, do we really need to do this?
Or can it not be done? It's amazing how many times I've realized because we haven't had that bridge, an engineer was like, oh, like when they finally realized what was being asked by the business, they're like, that would have taken it was maybe like 2 or 3 points of a story.
Right.
And we're like, oh, what? And it was this huge, and it was this back and forth conversation for 2 months, Khushi.
As a consultant, I can tell you the highest efficiency loss is requirement refinement.
Right.
And if you can find that bridge who can get everyone in the room and navigate the conversation in an effective manner, you are the winner. Everything can be done. Technology is that. But does everything needs to be done?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Brilliant.
There are days when I try to be that bridge, and then when I see that conversation going places, I'm like, I'm out of here. Not worth my time.
Because you're just like, you're talking at walls at each other. And it's no one's, I wouldn't say it's like anyone's fault. It's like they just genuinely don't understand each other.
Organization fails to hire that missing skill set.
Yeah.
That's what I like as a consultant. If I had a quarter every time I said that, that you don't have a particular skill set, a skill set that you think is a loss of money, but this skill set will give you the maximum efficiency, percent increase in efficiency.
Can you imagine the refinements would be like a quarter of the time.
Right. Hire a business analyst. Do something.
Oh my gosh. Oh,
Rather
amazing.
than
Thank
just
you.
pay. Why do we need someone to bridge, Sales, engineers, put them in a room.
No, bad
Nope.
idea. Bad idea.
Yep, worse. They don't understand each other's vocabulary.
I think it's critical what you said. The most important thing was that anything can be written, anything can be coded, of course. It's that critical bridge of understanding what is really priority and what is really sometimes, Khushi, it's not going to be any sales or revenue. It's the right thing to do for either this, I don't know, don't even get me started on tech debt.
Another hour of discussion.
Another hour of tech debt. But some of it's just things, there's decisions that you should make. Otherwise, what ends up happening in my experience is these decades old systems are chugging along with like paper clips and rubber bands because there's been no modernization and it's anything could have imploded at any moment.
But even technical debt has a revenue associated with it.
Oh, fair.
Because
Yeah.
today's investment in technical debt is tomorrow's productivity.
Oh, yeah.
So it's not an instant. So features are instant gratification, right? It is
You're
something
right.
that you can see and you can sell it right away.
You're right.
Taking care of technical debt is a delayed gratification.
Yeah.
And the success of any organization or team is between those instant and delayed gratification. Because if you are like, oh, in 3 months' time, if we take care of tech debt, we are going to be chugging out features like this, so worth it. But, you need the leadership to understand that.
And they don't.
Most don't. Yeah.
I shouldn't broad brush. Very rarely do they understand that. And so to your point, I love that. The delayed gratification just keeps getting kicked down the road until it's like a showstopper. We've got to do this. And then everybody gets pissed because no new stuff is going in, right?
Yes. Like I highly recommend if you have a quarter, give a sprint to tech debt. The difference that will make in your product life cycle is just amazing delayed gratification.
Yeah.
That will increase the productivity, that will improve your product, and who doesn't like a good quality product? So the definition of success, I mean, agile world, right? I need a definition of done. I need a definition of success. If I don't have that, I can't work. So my definition of success at LinkedIn became, if it makes a difference in one person's life, that's enough. I don't want more. It is not like, why am I doing this? Like, why am I posting on LinkedIn? Like, I'm not an entrepreneur, so I'm not selling any product. But the idea is, the passion is, if it is helping one woman engineer out there, I have succeeded. That is enough.
That's enough, and let it be enough.
And let it be enough.
Kudos to you. I mean, that's amazing. You are a leading voice out there that women are finding. In the patriarchal definition of success, that's not enough. We're making it enough. It is enough in the world that we're creating, right? So that's how we're changing the game. Speaking of LinkedIn, I read a post the other day of yours that really resonated. I'm going to read it out and I want to hear more about your thoughts. You don't have to network with everyone. Finding your people is enough. Read that again. Ever found yourself feeling a bit lost in the shuffle at networking events? Yeah, it happens to the best of us. Imagine this, you're at a networking event, feeling as out of place as a penguin in the desert, when suddenly it hits you, I'm not in my element here. The reality is one thrives in a community where you can learn, grow, laugh, and truly embrace your professional journey. You don't have to network with everyone. Finding your people is enough. So And you go on to share a lot more and the essence of what you mean by this. So I loved this so much because it actually beautifully segues, because of course it did, of what we just said. Your people will find you when they're supposed to find you. And you can imagine the patriarchal world. Well, actually, I'll go further than that. In the US, our systems, especially in the workplace, are deeply rooted from 100 years ago in white supremacy, patriarchy, and capitalism. So when we're out here, you and me, saying your people are going to find you when they're supposed to, imagine how uncomfortable the people with the scorecards are feeling when we say that. So,
Right.
so
And you found me. See,
yes,
time we
I
found
found
each
you.
other.
We found each other. So I love this a lot because everyone always assumes I'm extroverted, I'm outgoing. I live in the very yes and world.
Yeah.
I actually say I'm an ambivert. There are certain parts of my menstrual cycle you do not want to talk to me. I do not want to talk to you. And I allow that to be true. And I'm actually working with my body and my menstrual cycle, understanding. I used to judge myself because, our whole lives as women, it's like, oh, it's that time of the month, or like, it's this judgment against it. Now I'm like, yeah,
It
it
is
is.
what it is.
Leave me the fuck alone. Yeah. So it's embracing that now and working with my body. And so I love what you say here. Oftentimes I've been that person in the networking event where like I'm shuffling along like, oh my God, who am I going to talk to now? Like, oh, it's so awkward. So talk to me about this. Did you go to an event recently, and was this you, or what prompted this?
Uh, so, there are emails, and someone, a friend, a coworker with very good intention will ping me and say, hey, come to this event. When I was young in the beginning, like when I say in the beginning, like I just turned 40 last September. So just 5 years ago. So, it's not even that. It's not my early 20s, right? This is now. And like 5 years ago, I would go to the event and I would feel very uncomfortable. But then very recently, I joined this community. It's called Authentic Asian. This is led by Misa, and it is on my profile. So what she did, she felt very lonely in her space. And then she just decided that maybe we can make a group of Asian women leaders who can come together and, just help each other out. Just someone to listen, someone to communicate. And there are women over there who are so out of my league. What I mean by saying that, private equity and everyone. And I thought, because of my past experiences, I thought that if I go into a room talking to these women, I'm going to feel so small and I'm going to go back in the shell. Opposite happened. It's like I went there and I could open myself and I could speak without consequences, without the fear of being judged, and started seeing that, oh my God, I'm not the only one who has faced this. There are others who have faced this. And I just instantly found a place to belong. And there are certain other communities which happened the same. And that just completely changed my mindset. And I realized that there was this group a while ago. What was it called? Director level group, something like that, right? And I was like, okay, I'll go. Maybe this is an opportunity to network and learn from each other. Felt the same, like walked into a room, and I don't look like a leader. When I say I don't look like a leader, I don't mean that, I don't have the qualification to be a leader. I just mean I don't look like most of the leaders. So I don't think anyone even acknowledged or thought that, I might be, I belong there. Like I could see it. And I felt like a fish out of water, and I left within 30 minutes. And I promised myself that I have lived enough life and worked hard enough to not feel like this ever again. And now I'm very cognizant of the fact that where I go and, and where I don't. And that's it. That's it. And it was I don't know, like it was just one moment that I got this calling and I was like, nope. I'm done. I'm
You're
going
done.
to places where I don't belong.
Khushi, I see you. You're a leader. No one is out of your league.
Thank you for saying that.
No one. No one. You're inspiring me. I want to create a job where what I do is I go into these stuffy patriarchal networking events and I watch interactions, and I would go straight into the middle of a circle of people who all look like each other, regardless of who they were, and say, hi. Go talk to that person. Go talk to that person. Hi, go talk to
Oh,
that
I want to
person.
be you, Amy. I
I
want to
would
be
just
so you.
I would just bust it up. I'm gonna start doing that at networking events. You've inspired
Yeah.
me. I'm gonna do it. I'm
Okay,
gonna do it.
all right.
Um,
I will try doing that too.
I'll report back to you how it goes. I'll probably be escorted out. But like that's how we're going to actually, I'll put my healing hat on now as a coach. I don't want to force anyone to do anything that they're personally not comfortable with.
Right,
And it's helping those individuals that are standing in a circle of people that all look like them. I want to say, what would help you feel safe right now to go talk to a person you don't know? Challenging that a little bit, but again, not forcing anyone because everyone has free will and autonomy. So I would want to be some sort of a networking facilitator where I help them realize, hi, do you see what this looks like right now? This is exclusive. Okay, so let's break up the band. Let's go explore this event a little bit and meet someone you don't know. And the same way that I have felt like you have walking into a networking event, I was like, oh, this is not my vibe. That's how they might feel going to talk to other people that they don't know. It's
right.
everybody stepping just a degree outside of their comfort a little bit, but it's meeting too. It's like imagine when you walk into a networking event and someone that you don't know and doesn't look like you races over, hi, welcome. What's your name?
So welcoming, my gosh.
Right? Can you
I want
imagine
to be
that?
in that networking event, Amy.
I'm gonna create it and you're gonna
And
you and
I'll
I
help you.
what if you and I led one together?
Let's start the work. I'm in.
Okay, I'm
I'm
in.
in. I'm
I
in.
can't wait. It's amazing. So my coaching modality is all about energy. And what I'm feeling and what I've been feeling for a long time is we've only been operating the masculine, which is the doing, action, money, structure, power. The divine feminine
Yeah,
comes in feeling, trusting, believing, flowing. It's the internal soul work so that, creation,
right.
life. And what I see happening is women like you and me, we're helping others see what the divine feminine energy may be for both men and women. It's not specific
Oh,
to
yeah.
gender.
Yes, yes.
But the reality is we're still operating in a world where people are only comfortable in the masculine of the doing, getting shit done. So
Right.
we're creating the balance we've never seen in this life. So let's go.
I think I just had a thought. I think I'm here because, so many men saw, my talent and, what I can do and gave the opportunity. And what I do think is, so for example, I live in DEI literature, right? I will pick up those books. I'll read those books. I follow people on LinkedIn is my only social media. So LinkedIn is my home, right? So I'm like following everyone. I want to soak up everything and make sure that I am checking my biases and I'm doing the right thing. If I can make one person feel inclusive, that will be enough. Like mine is like if I can make a difference in one person's life, I have got my karma right and I'm
Same,
good.
yeah.
I think men they don't need. I think need is a different word, but they do not. Their newsfeed doesn't look like, oh, what other people are feeling, what DEI is, the kind of things, my coworkers, the people, very well-intentioned coworkers, they spend their time on is like, do you even know what is happening in the world? You know?
I know it's like business, 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 buy, sell,
Yeah,
business, business,
yeah, yeah.
business.
Or what Elon Musk is doing. I'm like, who cares what Elon Musk is doing?
Well, first of all, that's a whole nother
First of
conversation.
all, like that's need another 1 hour, right? And I'm like, what is it that we can do to, get them out? I'm on 80 Pillars. I don't know if you know that platform. It's a mentors, mentees. Oh my God, you should be there,
Yeah,
Amy.
I would love to.
In so many people's lives. So it was referred to me by two of my, friends who were like, you need to be there. So what they do is you schedule that I'm available Wednesday 1:30 to 2:30 and someone will see who needs help because of your profile and they will schedule 30 minutes meeting. And then, you go in and, it's just a conversation like me and you are having. And in that, they will share something that they need help with. And there have been some young men engineers, and they are talking about how to embrace their feminine energy. And I was like, oh my gosh, world is getting to the, there is a hope. There is a glimmer of
It's
hope.
shifting.
That is
Oh,
enough. That is
it's
enough.
shifting. It's
Yeah.
shifting. We do see the shifts happening. You're
Yeah.
right.
Yeah, and they're talking about how to care, what can I do? They are more aware. So wherever they are, whatever is happening in college, wherever they are graduating from, the newer generation, like even my 13-year-old boy, he asks better question than, most men my husband's age do. Hope is there, and I know for sure that young generation, their news feed will be much different than business, business, business.
It's actually unfolding before our very eyes. If we
Yes.
think about who raised the boomers, well, the boomers' parents were those who survived the Depression. Then the boomers raised X raised millennials, and et cetera. When you look at the generations as you go into millennial Z, especially, and then now Alpha, right? Your son's in Alpha, the 13-year-old. Evolution has prepared beautifully and divine as nature does these next generations for the world we actually live in. And that's where I feel like we're feeling the biggest pinch because we have such big differences between from boomer and then like the alphas that are coming out that are like, hey, we need to change everything.
Yep. Get rid of plastic first.
Yeah, no plastic. We gotta change everything. So I feel Z and Alpha are so acutely, they came out of the womb ready to recreate the world. And that is causing a lot of older generations, including millennial. I mean, I'm an elder millennial. It doesn't make me uncomfortable. I'm like, yes, come. But like X and Boomer, depending on where they are, they're like, oh, scary. Well, of course it is because it's unknown, and it's different from what they know. So we talked a little bit about what you would say to the women engineers that are in those rooms getting that barrage or feeling inferior. You said, trust yourself. What would you say now to the people? Because it's not just men, it could be other
And
women too. What would you say to the people who are maybe unaware that they give men engineers bias? They have a bias of trusting male engineers over female engineers. What would you tell them to bring an awareness that they might be doing it, but then advice as to how to change that?
so I'll start by saying that I do acknowledge that most people who act from their bias, most are unaware of it. Some are very aware of it and they're comfortable with it, but most are very unaware of it. Check your biases. Go pick some books. Like, I know self-help books are a thing. Like, just try to read a book which is for someone else, which checks your biases, right? Every time you question how you are feeling after a woman engineer puts the idea, pause, think that the thought that is coming in my mind, is it because she's a woman engineer or is it because of the idea itself? Think about that if there was a John Doe in a room, if this was a John Doe instead of a Jane Doe, well, I'll be thinking the same thing. Is this thought valid for both? So just to start there. And it is hard to check your biases, and it is hard to, it's a muscle, right? Like, your thought process is a muscle. Train that muscle where you remove all the biases, gender, race, anything, and just think about the idea. Probably close your eyes and just listen and go do the work. It's work, checking your biases is work. I mean, if you have time, I'll share a very small experience I had. This was 5 or 6 years in the career. I was working for this, I was a consultant. And every time you had a network problem or any problem in your machine, you call a help desk and you say, hey, this is not working. Can you please help me? And this is a third-party company. So I put up a call, and there'd be always, a woman on the call who would transfer me to another man to do the job, right? This time I picked up the phone and I said, hey, I'm facing a problem with my company. I'm with so-and-so employer. Can you please forward it to someone who can help me? You know what she said? She said, I can help you.
Oh,
I think the world came crashing down on me at that moment, because suddenly what I have felt most of the years in my career, I did that to another woman. And I realized my bias. I came home and I think I picked up a book. I don't remember. It was like a decade ago. I picked up a book and I did my homework. And I always made sure that, when I'm listening to someone, like even the radio voice, like when you hear a soft voice, you're like, okay, she probably has nothing to say. And then you're like, what are you doing, Khushi? Are you judging based on, your past experiences or how you were raised? And then I will immediately correct myself. And I'm like, I'm gonna act and make my judgment based on what I'm hearing on the talent.
Mhm.
It's a work. So this is what I want to tell people who are in the room and, questioning a woman engineer's idea harshly. Pause, check your biases, put your biases at the door, and only act on basis of what is said. And actually, no idea is a bad idea. It doesn't matter where it comes from. But if you're trying to be a better leader, you will treat all ideas with respect.
Kushi, we need radical change to be able to combat bias. I love the idea of blindfolded meetings. I love that.
Yes,
I
that would be, yes.
love that
Put a
because,
robot voice on everybody.
yeah, like everything goes away, meaning like rank, which a lot of times in meetings, rank needs to go.
Yes. It's not where
The
it's coming
hierarchy, the
from.
power plays. No, all
Yes.
of that goes away. Can you imagine? That's amazing because
But
you
this
have
should be the
suddenly
research in Harvard or Stanford. Somewhere this research needs to happen. Things in perspective.
we co-create in the universe what we speak to truth. So we're speaking right now. Someone
Yep. Universe is listening.
universe is listening. Let's test blindfolded or some sort of sensory deprivation meeting space where you're not necessarily aware of who's around you. And it's literally the thought people can actually have a conversation without the fear of retaliation of any kind.
Yes, yes, yes. I want that to happen.
Your son's going to create it. That's what's going to happen. So, Kushi, I think that you said this already, but we can find you on LinkedIn. Is there any other work or passion projects that you're working on that we can go visit or support?
I'm building my website, especially around the speaker profile, just trying to find, more and more opportunities where I think there is a lot. I'm a thinker, and once I started posting on LinkedIn, I realized how much I have to say. So I'm looking for more and more platform. But at this moment, it's LinkedIn.
Okay.
It's LinkedIn. LinkedIn is my home. I'm not even on any other social media.
I'm going to go ahead and say this. Kushi needs to be hired by every major corporation who is not only going through Agile, but in Agile. Bring her in to every one of your PIs, your planning events, whatever that looks like, to speak and to inspire at the top of each planning session so that all engineers, especially women or those who feel inferior, feel empowered to use their voice. Bring Kushi in all of your planning events as a speaker at the top of every event. Do it now.
Well, thank you. And yes, I'm also on ADP list, so I will send you that as well.
Please.
That is bringing me so much joy, Amy. I didn't realize just mentoring someone would bring me so much joy.
That's why I got into coaching, is I
Yeah.
look back on my time in corporate. My favorite part was not only leading my team, but coaching them to say, not just like, how's the work going, but like, how's your heart? How are you doing in the world of you today?
One of my very special skill set is I think in a decade, I have built teams from scratch, like zero. And all my hires are people right out of the college.
Mhm.
And they have grown up to be managers and solid engineering leaders, right? And I think the most joy was mentoring these engineers to be who they are today. And right now, for a while there is a hiring freeze, and I'm like, I need someone, It's like this mentor in me is dying. And someone recommended ADP List, and I have been there for a while. And every conversation it fills my empty cup. And then I'm able to go back into the world and do things, the things that doesn't fill my cup as much. And it has served me well. So these are the two places which is bringing me a lot of joy. As I said, if I can make a difference in one person's life, that is enough. And these two has been those places with most impact. And you should
Awesome.
be there, Amy. You should
I'll
be
be
there.
there. I'll be there.
You should be on ADP list.
Closing remarks as we wrap up.
Huh. My closing remark is women engineers, you need to stay in engineering industry. If you are not happy you are, move. There are good places. There are good places who will see your worth. If you are in a place where you don't feel worthy, that is not you. That is where you work, and that is, the environment you are in. Go find another place. And you never know who you are inspiring. And we need more women engineering leaders a decade later. And you are going to be that person. Be that person starting today. We need you. The world needs you. The whole corporate world needs you because we need innovation. We need new ideas. We need newer kind of thinking. So be there, be yourself, and you will find the place where you belong.
Thank you, Khushi.
Thank you, Amy, for having me.